Okay, so our next, our last and definitely not least speaker is Susan Deacy. Susan is with us. Susan is a professor of classics at Roehampton University in London. She is particularly interested in classical myth and its applicability to autistic people, including children. She has been developing lessons linked with the Hercules for autistic children and has been working in collaboration with Lisa, Maurice, and Ayelet Peer, including on the recently launched Acclaim Network. Her current writing projects include a set of Hercules-themed activities for autistic children and a book titled A Traitor to Her Sex, Athena the Trickster. She is the series editor of Routledge's Gods and Heroes of the Ancient World. Her own contribution to the series, the book on Athena, was published in 2008. I read it twice. Susan will talk live from London via Zoom about Hercules in the autistic classroom, a case study from the United Kingdom. Please.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, my box is lit up, so I guess people can hear me. I've got some slides, but should I share screen, or is it better if they're shown by someone else?
Yeah, you can share the screen, Susan.
Okay, right. Okay, well, fingers crossed. This is where I faff and lose a bit of time. Okay, hopefully it's all right. I've got it set up, ready to. The thing's gone off, so hopefully it's just thinking. My computer's saying, "Tell me what you want to do." Huh. Okay, good. Right. Are you just seeing a nice picture of Port Merion?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's showing.
We're seeing the PowerPoint.
You are seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, so you're seeing something that begins Hercules in the autistic classroom.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, my computer's lying to me then. My computer, because I've got two screens here, and my computer's telling me I'm showing you my wallpaper. Okay, thank you so much. That's great then. I won't try and I'll keep it on preview like this. Because why not just see all of my slides? I don't know. I always panic when I just see like one slide. I think, what's more to come? I want to see everything. So I'll just keep it like this and try not to be like too clever, particularly as I can't really see you all very well now. I'm screen sharing. Okay. I just want to make a note of the start and end time because I tend to get like totally carried away when I start talking about autism because yeah, sorry.
We don't hear you very good. Can you?
Oh, no. I'll move closer. Can you hear me better now?
We'll try to. Can you speak?
Can you hear me better now?
Closer. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm closer now. Is that better?
Yeah. A little bit better.
Okay. I mean, would it be better if I didn't show my slides? Would that be better?
No. That's good.
Okay. Right. No. Okay.
We now hear you very well. That's good.
Okay. I'll lean forward like this. Do interrupt me if you can't hear me, and I'll do what I can. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I lost my thread. Okay. So no, it's so wonderful. Well, I'm not actually here with you. I'm in the Zoom room with some like dear people at the moment. I'm at Roehampton in my office. I'm literally 5 minutes away from the Adam Room Chimneypiece panel that I'm going to be largely talking about. The one that you can see coloured in here on the first slide, and the one that Lisa's already like kindly mentioned. So I can't be with you in person. That dream all went right last year. But I'm going to try to like do various things that make the most of the Zoom format. I'd already got out this book to show because one thing I like to do when I'm teaching is actually utilize the positivities of things like Zoom by holding up in every one of my class this image of Athena, for example. And thank you for the kind things you said about my book on that topic. And also, this is actually a book I was going to show this because it's something that has very much sort of shaped my route into what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'm really moved that this was the book that concerns sort of the gateway between Disney, the gateway via Disney, including Disney's Hercules, particularly its sidekicks, between a gateway between the portal between these two worlds. And it's really interesting how far autism is so often spoken about as a world, right? And how there's this other world as well, right? The one that autistic people may well be trying to reach but can't, and can't understand the rules of. And so the fit here with what the first speakers were saying was excellent. Okay, so when Lisa, my previous speaker and dear colleague, approached me quite a while ago now to join this panel that was obviously due to take place a year, just under a year ago, I said it was a no-brainer. I said an enthusiastic yes, and I'm so happy finally to be taking part a year on and in this blended format that seems to be all working very well, and I hope you can all hear me okay. I hope I'm not creeping people out by getting really close to the screen. And I will during this presentation say some things about this kind of blended format, and in particular a Zoom or equivalent format, on how far it might be possible to learn from practices that we've been developing using things like Zoom during the pandemic, and how we'd be able to then adapt our practice for autistic children and other children and everybody accordingly. And I'm going to be giving, as Lisa has said, and as my title indicates, I'm going to be giving a perspective from the United Kingdom on using myth with autistic children. So given where I'm based, right, in the United Kingdom, right now in London, in southwest London more specifically, this counts in that regard as a UK-based perspective because I'm a UK-based person. But one thing I would stress, and like fitting in here with what's already been said by Lisa about the whole sort of wider perspective and studies that embraced places like the UK and Sweden, I just want to stress that the activities I've been developing have never been confined to the United Kingdom. And I'm asked a lot how far what I'm doing has applicability beyond the UK. And I always find that quite a difficult question to answer, or maybe it's quite a straightforward question to answer, because so much of what I've done, including for example, via Ron Susskind's book, are dealing with issues that are very United States focused. Oh, and actually, yes, fitting in with that, I'm just going to hopefully move through the slides. Oh, good. That didn't work initially, which is a bit scary. Okay, I might come back to this one. And also, this is just want to share this like very briefly. This is me and Lisa together in Warsaw. Okay, so again, Acclaim was launched in Warsaw at a conference that was very global, drawing together people from most of the continents of the world, for example. So here's me and Lisa, and here's Ayelet as well. Okay, so this is where it all kind of started a year and a bit ago in Warsaw. And so the focus has always been looking at the interplay that's very much in line with the vision of the Our Mythical Childhood project between the local and the global, right, and the various complexities of what local and global are, including when one thinks in an autistic way. One autistic person, autistic activist no less, who wrote the thing that I've just quoted from here on the slide. Back in the 90s, right? It seems very now, yeah, right? Jim Sinclair was very ahead of the game here as an autistic activist based in the UK. I very much favour talking about say an autistic person or an autistic child rather than a child with autism or a person with autism, because how I see autism is very much in line with this quotation here from Jim Sinclair. You can't separate the autism from the person. It's about who you are, and the activities I'm designing are very much about setting up this trying to create this sort of gateway, this portal between the two worlds, the autistic world and the non-autistic world. They're about trying to help autistic children deal with the world that, as the first speaker said, is created by and largely for non-autistic people, right? The world we're in disables autistic people all the time, and how frightening, therefore, if you're an autistic child trying to make sense with all the issues that come with childhood as well. So the activities I'm going to talk about are very much dealing with trying to help and support autistic people deal with a non-autistic world, but they're also about enabling children to be autistic and enjoy being autistic. As Lisa said, the autistic children she was working with didn't see autism as something that's a deficiency, right? They saw it as something that made them special, right, in a non-negative way. So various things I've been doing have always been taking a perspective that isn't confined to the United Kingdom. Though I'm very aware that my various contexts are going to be shaping what I'm doing. But throughout the time when I've been building up these activities, I've tried them out. I've done some activities, and I'll talk about this more later, unless I talk myself, unless I filibuster myself too much. I've gone into a school in this part of London that has an autism base. I'm going to be going to another school. Oh God, we're in June, aren't we? Later this month, again to work with their autistic base and try out various of the activities. I've also tried to make the most of the fact that the world went Zoom with the pandemic, and I ran a session pitched at autistic children and their families. It was for a UK-based event, the annual Being Human Festival. As it was done via Zoom and similar online formats this year, I could open it to the world. So there were people zooming in with their children from, for example, Belgium, and there were various people who zoomed in from all over the world. So I was going to say a bit more about Ron Susskind's work, right? But as Lisa's already mentioned that, and I've already sort of held the book, I'll skip that. I'll skip that for now. And I've already said some things about the world. Yeah, just something on what I'm showing here. So here's me presenting on the activities in Warsaw to an audience that was highly global and made up of people across different age ranges as well, including children. And here's an example of what happened when I had a go in an autistic run cafe in Warsaw with members of staff from the cafe and participants in an international conference. And one thing that was great here is that people really sort of rose to the task about about having fun in an autistic space, but also thinking about things like emotions and what we find difficult and what we enjoy and what our special interests are. Right? Okay, classicists often have special interests, just saying. But also, all right, one reason for saying that like no-brainer yes to Lisa's invitation to consider joining a panel that we're going to pitch to this conference was just how much I've gained from learning about the work that Lisa has done with ILET and other colleagues. Now, as Lisa said, some of the things that I was doing a few years ago, sort of the earlier versions of my activities, and when I was very much trying to like formulate my thinking, fed into, she even said, I think was the inspiration for the Israeli-based project. But one thing I would say is that there's an interesting cross-fertilization here, in that it was then seeing what Lisa and ILET and their colleagues had done, and reading particularly some things about the Hercules lesson and the children's responses to it, that very much has helped shape my work. Okay, so I've gained so much from what Israeli colleagues are doing. including on how I could, okay, when I initially devised the activities, I was trying to do everything. Okay, it was all about classics, it was all about feeling all these different emotions at once, which has a really good fit with being autistic and trying to like deal with too much information. But there was too much information in a bad way, but it needed to be like that as I was feeling my way through the activities and trying them out on people. So by running sessions in workshops and in school, and then getting feedback, and then reading Lisa and Ayelet's reports on their activities, I've been able to tailor things much more. So that's good. So I'll just lead into what I'm doing. I'm currently, hopefully that will, hang on. Yeah, good. I'm hopefully, right, sorry, I'm ahead of myself there. Okay, so here's the chimney piece panel that Lisa was already, I think it's the same photograph that Lisa has already showed. And here's me with a group of school children, faces not shown, actually in the room pointing to the panel, right? So you can have a sense of it in its wider neoclassical context. So I'm currently finishing a set of lessons for autistic children based on Hercules, based on a specific episode involving Hercules, this panel. Now, it's an 18th century panel. The campus at Roehampton is neoclassical in all sorts of ways, right? We inhabit various villas. I'm in a 1960s building, but very close, but in the grounds, right? In these 18th century capability Brown-esque grounds. Now, in the 18th century, right, the Hercules at the crossroads, the judgment of Hercules, the choice of Hercules was very well known. Okay, not all over the world, but in certain parts of the world, and certainly in Britain, and perhaps more specifically in England, where you can talk about it having become in a really interesting way, right? Very interesting layers of reception here. It had become Englished, right? It had become co-opted as a British myth. It's not so, and not least because it very much spoke to 18th century concerns including about childhood and how children move into adulthood, and also concerns over how to find a balance between things like hard work, represented by one of the women here, and pleasure. Okay, very 18th century concerns. But it's not a particularly well-known story now. Okay, so most people tend to have heard of Hercules. When I was with the girls in this room a few years ago, they started off by saying, "We don't know anything about classics. We don't want to be in this posh room anyway." And then I mentioned Disney, right? And of course they did have a route in. And so that's and also when I went into one of the classes in the autism base in the primary school in London a couple of years ago. It's interesting, the teacher started by showing the trailer of Disney Hercules, and the children were just enthralled, right? And they started from knowing nothing about Hercules or myth, but they were, their attention was got. They were saying things like, wow, they were having a very strong connection with what they were seeing. But a lot of people have heard of Hercules, and Hercules might be their special interest, for example. But one interesting thing here is that, unlike in the 18th century, people tend not to have heard of this particular episode in the mythological life of Hercules, which means that no one's either advantaged or disadvantaged. Okay, whether you're autistic, non-autistic, whether you love myth, whether you love classics, whether you know nothing about classics, you have a comparable routine, a comparable starting point. No one advantaged, no one disadvantaged, and the fit there with disability practice and autism practices, I think, are good. So the lessons concern this time then when Hercules has reached a curious place. Okay, so the fit here with how, when you're autistic, arriving somewhere new it's like having a constant panic attack. So Hercules has reached a new curious place full of details, right? He's got to work out his relationship to this particular space, and here he meets two strangers to boot, two completely new people, and he's tasked to make a choice. Choice making can be difficult for anyone, right? Yeah, I'm sure you can all think of examples of times when choice making was hard, but when you're autistic, right, and making choices is hard on a whole other level, whether big or small, right? Because these concepts don't necessarily apply. So he's tasked to choose a path between two paths in life. And as Lisa said, an artist, Steve Simons, has produced a set of drawings of the panel, where details that some of which I've never seen really come through. He's also done a set of this is just a few of them. He's also done a set of details as well that I use in some of the activities. I'll just go back to this slide as well, so you can have a look at just how detail rich this image is. Oh, and I'll just like say briefly, yeah. So because some autistic people find nudity an issue, not absolutely not all, and also because the activities are pitched at children. He's done right. We didn't have to do anything to her, but Hercules has been further clothed, as has the figure of pleasure on our right, yeah, on our right here. So I'll just show the overall scene now. There's a huge amount. I'll just like summarize. There's a huge amount that can resonate with being autistic, including with some of the traits that were outlined in the first wonderful paper. I've mentioned entering new spaces, meeting new people, right? Changing perspective as well, right? So it's not just about Hercules, it's also about what people who don't know Hercules, right, often do when they look at this panel, namely to focus not on the man in the middle, but on the two women, right? Okay, so it's also about, you know, the perspective of pleasure, the perspective of hard work or duty or whatever we're gonna call her. So entering new spaces, changing point of view, meeting new people, dealing with emotions. Okay, has Hercules gone into an autistic meltdown here, right? Is it that has he blanked out? Is he experiencing so many things in a strange space that he's gone into meltdown? It's about making choices. It's about working out how the present can turn into the future. There are so many fits. And what I'm doing is every one of the lessons, lots of colouring in, right? That's actually quite controversial in autism practice. I can say things about that if people want. But so this is just like a snippet from one of the lessons. Each one is designed so that it can be done by itself, or it can be done as part of a wider series. So that's been an interesting challenge for me, to make everything self-contained, but make everything speak to everything else as well. And they can be done in any order. So this, you know, lesson 6 can also fall in quite logically into the middle. Each of them is about Hercules and various aspects of myth, etc., etc. It's also very much about dealing with a particular thing that can resonate with autistic children. So it can have a kind of social stories role as well. Social stories have been so key to autism practice for several decades now. I can say more about that potentially. And just to round things off, like I said earlier, I tried out the activities in classes at a local school's autism base. I've shared, here are just a few things I've pulled together, right? This is cut and pasted from the latest draft of my book. So if there are typos, that's why. Just let me know, because I'm rubbish at proofreading my own work.
Susan, sorry for interrupting you. It's fascinating, but we have to keep with the schedule. We have
I'm done.
2 more minutes, if you please.
How much longer?
2 more minutes, please.
Oh yeah, I can finish in 2 minutes because
thank you.
Because what I could always do is just leave this slide up for a bit if people want to read. Basically, the children really responded. All right, and this was to the earlier MAD version of the activities, and so it was so I could see what they enjoyed, I could see what they were challenged by, and I could therefore move from this. And then there's just a final slide here. Which isn't okay, so you have to click the link, which isn't very helpful, is it, to get some of the details, but I'd be very happy to send the slides to anybody. So there's a link here to here's my email address. Love to hear from anybody. Here's a link to the blog that Lisa already mentioned that I've been doing since I got so fascinated by this topic in 2008-9. A link to our Acclaim network, which is all about connecting people internationally. The I stands for, no, it's not. The I stands for inspired. But anyway, it's an international network for anybody interested in any aspect of autism and mythology and how the two might connect. And there's a link there to the wider Our Mythical Childhood website as well. So yeah, thank you. That's me.
Thank you very much, Susan.
I'm so sorry. I'd written down, right, I think my watch is a bit fast. I'd written down stop at 10:05 UK time. So sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I was working to my own schedule.
Okay, so we'll now open the discussion for questions. So from our audience here or from the Zoom participants. Oh. Okay. Again, not really a questions. What? Oh.
Yeah, Robert, we already have run our program here in Tel Aviv, in Israel. We want to extend it everywhere else. And just to say a quick word about ACCLAIM, which stands for Autism Connecting with Children with Classical Myth. I came up with that one morning in Shul. We are looking to expand. We're looking for more schools, more teachers who are willing to run the program. As I said, we're translating it to English as well. And Susan will also share her activities. So yes, we're looking to extend everywhere we can all over the world.
Oh, yeah, Dana, can you open the mic? Hi.
Thank you very much for a very, very interesting panel and inspiring and bringing many questions. I'm going to, I don't have any kind of pedagogical side, but I want I see how rewarding and fruitful this is for, to use in the classroom setting. But I think it's also rewarding to open this up for people who are reading Greek texts of all types, not just mythology, to see another aspect in this. And for years now, I've been, in the beginning when Shachar gave the run through of the different phenomena or different elements of the people who are in the spectrum, I was thinking, of course, of the codes that people, on the one hand, the rules are very strict. On the other hand, the lack of interface between codes that are social codes that are used by neurotypical people and other social codes. I don't have any kind of confidence that I would be able to say, Socrates wasn't, everybody has their figure that they're studying, was or wasn't on the spectrum. But I do think that, for example, for many years I've been thinking, Theophrastus's characters, they are a document about dysemia, which is one of the, I don't know if that's part of the spectrum, but it is part of people who don't quite get the code, the communication and social codes right. And I've been begging students for years, say, do a seminar paper on the dysemic qualities in the way the characters are described, for example. I'm sure that if you look at the ethical literature, either of Aristotle or of other authors, how they theorize, how people are supposed to conduct themselves. If you look at, I think it was Ayelet was talking about tragedy. Even just in terms of communication, the whole idea whether there is real contact or whether there are just two people on the stage, to be able to dramatize this, the dramaturge has to really know what the right way to communicate it and what the wrong way to communicate is. There is some kind of a, I'm just opening this up. It's not really a question. It's more like how this can be taken further. Of course, culturally different in different cultures. And thanks, that's all.
I think, by the way, that superheroes of other cultures could be used as well as not only the Greek heroes and gods.
We need, is it not culture specific? Is it culture? I mean, things like
You
that.
think so?
About the codes.
Okay. I think you should take the mic if you want to, or come to the stand.
Anyway, what I was saying is that I think we will have to, is it on?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
on.
I think you will have to adapt it. If you want to bring it to another country, I think you will have to socially adapt it, because the kids in Israel are quite different from the kids in the US or England or Europe or whatever. And we're talking about very social emotions. I think that comfort in Israel is not the same as comfort in the UK, right, Lisa? And I think it's all pro-social, so it has to be adapted in some kind of way. Okay, we actually did it for a certain class with certain children, like a year before their bar mitzvah. So it was very adapted. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I was just going to add to that, yeah, when we translate it, our aim is not that people take it and put it in place as it is, but they use it as a starting point. They can use maybe some of the activities, but obviously you have to adapt it according to whatever, and even within a country, as you say, what worked for that class is not going to be the same that works for another class. But the idea and we would obviously be on hand to build up stories that would help with certain emotions, but and the idea is what we're selling much more than the actual particular program.
And
Sorry.
okay. Any other questions, remarks, thoughts?